Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the host of this podcast, and I'm excited to be here today. Let's just back up a little bit. I haven't been on here in a little while because I pre-recorded the last few episodes, and then it got me out of the habit of coming up here, and so I'm excited to be here again. Feels like it's been a long time, but maybe not for you. But I am going to talk to you today about decision making. And I think I've talked about being overwhelmed with decisions, but I want to talk more about decision fatigue today because I've been experiencing that lately, and I don't know if you have or not too. But it's just really interesting to notice that you have some patterns. Notice that you do some things, maybe you struggle with making decisions in certain situations, but not really understand why. And once you understand that you have ADHD, or you're pretty sure you have ADHD, you have all these symptoms, and then you understand why executive dysfunction would lead to these patterns or these struggles that you have, I find it really helpful because one, I can come up with some strategies. Two, I can give myself a break. I can identify when it's a good time to just back up a little bit. So there are a lot of reasons that we could have problems making decisions where you're just like, I can't decide. And one might be that you put a lot of pressure on yourself to make the right decision. And it's not necessarily a perfectionist complex. It could be like, I don't want to do this unless it's just right. It could be that, but it could be that you've seen when you made the wrong choice before, it didn't have a good outcome. And so with that experience, you're thinking, I really want to get this right. I'm like that with food because I'm so picky. I'm such a picky eater that when I go to a restaurant, it's stressful for me unless I know what my favorite thing is. I've ordered it before, I'm going to get it again. And from the time I was little, I used to go to Baskin Robbins or, one of those ice cream places that had a lot of flavors. And I would choose vanilla. And some people thought it was because I was a picky eater, or they think, don't get vanilla, that's such a plain thing to get. But I liked vanilla. And sometimes I'd try another flavor and I didn't like it. Eventually I liked other things like Rocky Road and stuff. But sometimes you like one flavor from one brand, but then you try another brand and you don't like it. I found since I moved to the South, I didn't know that Florida was the South, but when I moved to Florida, they have an ice cream brand. Maybe it's in a lot of places, but it's not in California, called Bluebell. And when I first moved here, I bought the vanilla, and they're pretty big. I think they're actually a half gallon, not a smaller and smaller carton like a lot of them. And I got the vanilla, and I thought, this is amazing. It tastes like homemade ice cream. And then I bought it the next time, and it didn't taste so good. And I thought, sometimes my taste buds kind of fail on me. And I was really bummed. I thought, I can't believe I thought this ice cream was so good and it's not good. I realized, I don't know, a few months later, I was in a different grocery store, different Publix, and there was a vanilla that had a different name. It had a different rim. Instead of it being a gold rim, it was a dark brown rim. It was actually a different kind of vanilla. That's the one I like. I don't want the other one. And you get to an age, at least I do, where I don't want to waste the calories on an ice cream that I don't like. And so anyway, when I go to a restaurant, I don't want to spend the money on food that I don't like, or I don't want to sit there and have regret that I didn't order something else. So I tend to look at other people's tables and see, oh, did they get lasagna? What does their lasagna look like? Did they get this? Or, and I'll ask the waitress or server or whoever it is, waiter, what they like, what they recommend. But most of the time I get the same thing over and over. And if you sit down, well, a few things. If you're going to a restaurant, I know I mentioned this before, sorry if I repeat a lot, but, we all forget things anyway, so we can use reminders. But if you have a restaurant that you're going to and you can look up the menu in advance, it can be helpful, but it's not always fail-safe. Sometimes you check things out and then you go and you still don't like it, or just wasn't what you thought, or it's too salty or something. But that can really help to make decisions at a time when you're relaxed and you have time to think about it and research and read people's opinions or reviews or things like that on a restaurant. But I just recognized on a trip that I took with my daughter a few weeks ago And that counter, what are they called? Like a counter restaurant where you walk up to the counter and you order. That is super stressful for me, especially if I haven't been there before, or maybe only once or twice, because I go up there. And even though I might look online, you get up there and they've just got all these signs. And so you're trying to make sense of them. And then sometimes they have a system like, oh, you tell this person what salad you want. And then you walk a few feet over and then you tell that person what soup you want. And then you walk over there and then you tell them if you want a dessert or if you want a roll. Or it could be, this is where your tortilla is. Choose your tortilla, then choose your protein, then choose your, it's kind of like, I don't know the system. I don't know the system. So I'm trying to make a decision while trying to process information. And I do way better with written information. So if I'm asking a question, the person's telling me it's still not making sense in my brain. And then I look up at the screen and I don't see, because a lot of people with ADHD, and I'm one of them, read something like a text or an email or something, and if some words will jump out at you and the other ones won't. And when you're in a more high pressure situation, it might even happen to a greater degree. And so you're trying to figure out, well, what do you even have? And who do I talk to? And the person's saying, move along, or no, don't tell me yet, go tell them. And it's just so confusing. And if I was just to do it by myself, that wouldn't even be as bad as having somebody with you that's wishing you'd just do it. And whether it's the person that's at the counter or the person that's with you, like, they're just telling you and it's still not making sense to you. So I find that super, super stressful because decision making is already a problem. It's already a challenge for a lot of women with ADHD. And part of that is the problem of prioritizing information, deciding, coming to a decision, coming to a conclusion. What's more important? What's the better thing to order? And when you are exhausting your mental energy, that is going to function even worse, in my opinion. I'm not an expert, but in my opinion, in my experience, if you're maxing out your brain, it's just like if you're exercising. If you're exercising and you're more fatigued, you've just done a HIIT workout, you're going to go and try to get on the spin bike, and it might not be as easy because you've just done your cardio. You've just maxed out those muscles. You're pre-fatigued. Is that what they call it? Pre-fatigued the muscles. And so you're already more tired. And I've experienced this with my workouts. I've experienced this when I've taught a more advanced yoga class at the end of the day after doing a lower body workout and 2 other yoga classes or something like that. I've done that and I'll just feel like my legs can't hold this warrior two like it usually does because it is fatigued. It is fatigued. And the same thing can happen to our brains as our brains get fatigued and they're already not functioning in the neurotypical way. And then you add that to it. You add the pressure of time. You add the pressure of whether they're giving it to you or you're just sensing it, you're just feeling it, the pressure of somebody else wishing that you'd hurry. So that's time and emotional response. And then just not being able to make sense of the directions or reading the information or hearing it well. So with an executive function, you need to be able to take instructions and go do, 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 and put them into steps. And if you've made cookies before, you probably know first the butter, or in the olden days shortening, first the butter, then the sugar, and then the other wet stuff, wet eggs and things. There's an order to it, and you know that system. When you look at a recipe, it's probably not as hard to figure it out because you've done that before. Even if you haven't done exactly that, you know the order. And so if everything's new to you, you go to a drive-through and you're not sure where you're supposed to go to pay. You're not sure. I don't know if any of that stresses you out. It stresses me out. It stresses me out. And I don't know what to do about all of that, except for maybe if I did go to a walk-up place that I hadn't been to before. What do they call it? Counter order? I'm sorry, I don't come here with all the terms because even if I did, I wouldn't remember them. But the counter serve or something like that. But I could stand back and watch other people order first. And actually asking questions isn't always helpful. Sometimes I just have to look and let it process. And this restaurant that I went to the other day or a couple weeks ago one of the problems is one of the screens, there were three screens with menus on them. One of them had a picture that was flashing, which made me think that the menu flashed too. Like whatever it was telling me, if I just waited, it would tell me if I could just get chicken strips without getting a meal. And it didn't tell me that. It kept waiting for it to change, and it wasn't changing. And I'm old enough that I'm kind of getting past feeling embarrassed with people in public, but with my own family or friends or something, I don't know. Yeah, it can be a lot. It can just be a lot. It can interfere with life and the enjoyment of it. There are other situations where decision making is hard. And one is when you have too many decisions to make. I heard long ago that Costco or Sam's Club, those kind of places, made decisions easier for us because they took out the variety. So you're not getting to choose between 50 kinds of crackers. You're choosing between maybe 4 kinds of crackers. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. They made it easier. You don't always find everything that you want there, but they have taken it from this gigantic multiple choice to just a couple choices of cereal, a couple choices of maybe they have more soda. But it does make it simpler when we don't have as many choices. And if you're someone who is on your computer and you keep opening tabs and tabs and tabs and tabs, and all of a sudden you think, what was I working on? What was I doing? You've clouded your brain because you don't know. That's indicative of how many thoughts you've had and how many little paths you've gone down. And the same thing can be with decisions. When we're considering all the information, it can be a bit too much. So sometimes just simplifying it, or maybe deciding before you go somewhere, whether you write lists or whatever to go to a store, deciding I'm going to go get this. I'm going to go get this. If I see something else, I'll grab it. But make it a little simpler. I do like the ordering the groceries online to be delivered because, one, I don't have to spend the time going to the store, but 2, it saves your cart. So from the time before, it'll say, like last night when I was ordering, or was it this morning? I think it was this morning, but it's being delivered in the same day, so it's coming today. But it said, here's some things you got last time. Do you want to get them this time? And I thought, oh yeah, I didn't get bananas. I can't believe I didn't get bananas. I got bananas. So it helps me remember things, which is nice. But decisions can also feel heightened if your emotions are heightened. And if you have emotional dysregulation, which I talked about with Megan a few episodes ago, emotional dysregulation, and what she had said about it was slightly different than what I learned, but it could be both, is that our brains have a way, our emotions will flood in, our brains have a way of managing those emotions so that they're not too explosive, not so much that it's hard to handle or maybe disruptive in life. And with ADHD, you may not be able to screen those emotions as easily. And what Megan talked about was we have a baseline and it's just going over and under and over and under. And I didn't know, well, I think emotional roller coaster people, there are people who have more of the highs and the lows, but there are some people who have more of the lows, not the highs, or more of the anger and not the whatever. And if you're having emotions maybe of fear, oh no, what if I don't do the right thing here? What if I don't, even just trying to decide, should I do something? Should I commit to this? Should I not commit to this? Somebody asked me to do that. That's a decision too. And that can be stressful because you're weighing if you're going to disappoint somebody, kind of the people-pleasing thing, or if you're going to drop the ball, if you're not going to honor your commitment, if you're going to forget, all those emotions can come in. So they could feel heavier just because the emotional impact can be greater. I'm laughing because I'm trying not to stress you out just by telling you all the things that could be, what could go wrong, will go wrong. It doesn't always go wrong, but it can. But yeah. And then overthinking. If you are someone who has the thoughts that it just bounce around like popcorn, you have more thoughts than you can count in a day, you may be overthinking a decision because you're going to think of possibilities. You're going to think about, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And the truth is, probably most of that won't happen, or most of it doesn't matter as much to the other person. But I do that too because we have creative minds and we might think of more possibilities. So trying to simplify that, trying to bring that down to just a few choices. It's this or that. I'm either going to buy this person a ticket to a concert for Christmas, or I'm going to get her some perfume, whatever it is. Pick a category or choose one category and just go for it. Try not to make the decisions just become this process that goes on or stresses you out. And then if you have a life that is already maxing out your brain in some way, then trying to add decisions on with that, it's like that maxed out brain to begin with. That can make it harder because you're already starting in a less able to function way. And other people can experience differently. I usually think of my brain's going crazy, I'm maxing out. Other people might feel burnout, overwhelm, or just that kind of numbness of, I don't know anymore. Have you ever done that? Have you ever gone to a store, especially late at night? I still do sometimes, but I used to like to go to Marshall's right before closing. They were open until 9:30 unless it was Christmas time. And sometimes I just go there to unwind at the end of the day and then just think of who has birthday coming up, or is there Mother's Day, or this or that. And then I'd walk around and think of things. And there were times where I just couldn't make a decision. And then I thought, now, because your brain isn't working as well, you're walking around like a zombie and you just need to go home and go to bed. I learned that it was okay to walk out of a store without buying anything. I mean, obviously it is, but I used to think it was a waste of time if I did that. Now I don't. But anytime that you're kind of fatigued from the end of the day, or you've just had a lot going on, you've already had to make other kinds of decisions, even the tiniest things can be hard. And then impulse control. So this is something I find fascinating with making decisions, is if you have the hyperactive, impulsive type of ADHD, sometimes you take all this great care in making a decision, and other times, and then you come to like a logical conclusion. And other times you just like think, I don't know, I'm just going to do this right now because I'm tired of thinking about it. And I was laughing with my daughter-in-law about this a couple days ago because, and this is crazy, but maybe not crazy to you, but it was crazy to me. I went to her house. So she just had a baby. So my son and daughter-in-law had a baby a week ago. And I went to their house, and there was a blanket by the front door that looked like a blanket that I almost bought her for Christmas. And I thought, I don't think I bought that for Christmas. And so my brain was just completely confused. Like, how would she know about that website, or who got that for her if I didn't? And it was a day of Christmas, early Black Friday deals before Black Friday, but when everyone was trying to get you to spend money before Black Friday, like a week before. And so it's like, oh, these sales, I gotta get it now before the sale goes away. Half off, and I found this website that just had the cutest little knickknacks and blankets and clothes and things like that, and kind of boho-y, but cute designs and stuff. So then I started thinking, okay, who would I get these for? My daughter-in-law, my daughter, my other daughter. So I was thinking, oh, even for myself, should I get this? So I keep putting things in the cart. And imagining it being for that person. But then, well, but what if this doesn't fit? I don't want to have to return it. And this isn't probably easy to return. And maybe this is final sale, and then you start reading reviews. Does it fit bigger? What if it's, tight in the bust? And, it just went on and on. And then I see these blankets, and they are the cutest blankets. So I go through and I read every review for every blanket that's on sale and choose one for each of them. But then I read one review that says, but they're kind of thin. And I thought, so I took them all out of the cart because the blankets were kind of expensive, even half off. And I thought, if you get them that's their gift. And so then I thought, well, maybe I'll get my daughter-in-law maternity clothes instead. And this has gone on for probably 2 days. So I find this maternity website that has these cute little stretchy overalls, and they were half off. And they were pretty expensive to begin with, but I thought these are better quality than the ones on Amazon. These are better quality. I shouldn't say all this. I don't want Amazon people to come after me. But but they were better quality. And my daughter, one of my daughters here, had bought the Amazon ones, and I tried them on, and I didn't like them that much on me, but they looked cute on her. But anyway, so I thought, I'm going to get those for her. Well, then I get 2 of them, and then it says if you get 3, then you get each one for a lower price. So I get 3, and I have to choose a different color, and then I get it to the cart, and it lets me get a 4th pair for $29.99 or something. And I don't know. It was all more than I wanted to spend, but before I knew it, I did that impulse thing. I just thought, just buy it, just buy it, just buy it. You've been trying to make decisions for days. And so it was my first Christmas purchase of the year. And I remember thinking that was a really good lesson in how not to do it, because I still ended up spending a lot of money, even though it was on sale. But I didn't give it a lot of thought once I got to the cart and saw how much money was in it, because part of what was going through my mind was, you're getting 4 pair for the price of whatever. But it was still, like my friend's husband says, you can make me go broke. We could go broke on all the money you save. So anyway, so when I see this blanket at my son and daughter-in-law's house, I'm like, wait, why do you have this blanket? Did I buy it and forget that I bought it? Because that wouldn't be unheard of either. And so I'm telling her about it a couple of days ago, because I think she was still at the hospital when I saw the blanket or something. And she said, no, I saw it online and put it on a wish list, and my parents bought it for me. But I said, you were this big learning experience with Christmas shopping, because I made such an impulse purchase. It ended up being good because thankfully she liked them. And because I think the idea was like, I'll get a pair of these for myself. And then I tried them on, it didn't look good on me. And yeah, so she loved them. She wears them. She wore them during her pregnancy, and she's wearing them postpartum. So it ended up being a good purchase. But I just felt like I completely acted out of impulse. And if you ever do that, like, I'm just going to do this now because I don't want to think about it anymore. Or if you're even just doing something like a craft, or you're sewing, I'm not good at sewing, but if you're doing something like that and you don't have the wherewithal to think of, like, how do I do this? I'm going to read the instructions. I want to really understand it. And then you think, no, I'll just do it. And then you mess it up. I've messed up way too many crafts because I think I'll just do it my way. And then it doesn't work out. But, it's not like it ends, leads to the end of the world, but it can be stressful. And you can just get a lot of anxiety, frustration, waste money, waste time, and just knowing that there's a reason for that. It's not because you are not smart. It's not because you don't know how to make decisions. It's just that your brain already lacks the ability to function properly if you have this aspect of ADHD, of making decisions in a clear way, or organizing instructions in a clear way, or prioritizing. So you add those to a situation where there might be somebody waiting for you, or they're asking for your credit card while you're trying to decide, do you want to sign up for this thing? And you can just use your email, or you're like, don't ask me questions. Like, I'm trying to think right now. You're trying to make me, and I know that's, what they're doing, but even the, on websites and stuff, you'll go to order something, and then it will say, do you want these 5 things too? Or you'll buy something, you'll be so happy you finally bought something on a website, and then it will say, do you want to sign up for this? And you think, please stop asking me questions. Please stop asking me questions. I thought I was done making decisions. I can't do that anymore. So anytime you can simplify and click a little X and stop making those decisions, it can be helpful. It can be really helpful. Even when I listen to podcasts, I would rather download the podcasts and put them all in order. It depends on the app that you use. Like, I think Apple Podcasts, it's really easy to make a playlist and have them in order. I tend to use Amazon Music more now because it doesn't always show ads for a lot of the podcasts I like. And I get tired of the ads. But it's nice to not have to choose. I'd rather go and choose a whole playlist of episodes to listen to and just let them roll. And I don't mind, every once in a while I can scroll past an ad. I just don't like the ads if I'm using them to go to sleep, which I do sometimes. So anyway, so what are some strategies? I probably mentioned some throughout, but anytime you can make a decision in bulk, like I'm going to plan what I'm going to wear for the week now. I just made a decision in bulk on that episode with Carrie. I don't know if you listened to it or watched it, but we were talking about decision making, and I was telling her that it's gotten harder as my ADHD has gotten worse, deciding on what earrings to make or to wear, not to make. I don't make earrings. Deciding which earrings to wear, or if I'm going to wear a necklace, sometimes I'll think, okay, I'll put this necklace on. And then it doesn't work with the neckline of what I'm wearing. And then I change my mind, and then it's hard to clasp it. And with the earrings, what if I can't find the back? And anyway, it's just, it's one more thing to think about, and I don't want to make that decision. I used to think it was fun. It was no problem long ago to choose earrings, but now it is. So that was the strategy I came up with while I was talking to her was I'm just going to wear posts, the ones that, how some of them have, I hope this isn't too loud with the microphone. I'm touching my earring, but some of them have longer posts, and then when you go to sleep, they touch your neck, and then you can't sleep as well. These ones don't. So I thought I'll just wear normal posts for as long as I can, and then maybe if I go out on the weekend or go to church or something, I'll wear something a little fancier. But streamlining what you can. I teach yoga, so most of the time I'm wearing yoga clothes. And when I do need to go somewhere else, like we went to dinner last night, I'm like, oh, I got to think of something else to put on. It's a lot easier when you can kind of do it in batches. And even meals, a lot of people like to do meal planning or just say Taco Tuesday, or my cousin used to have it all planned out. Like one night was pasta. The most I did was Friday nights was pizza. That was usually the only thing. But anytime that you can make that decision in advance makes your day a little easier, especially if you do it in advance and it takes that time limit off. Because if I'm planning out my outfit the night before, I feel no time pressure. Unless my husband's already asleep and I'm thinking I should turn out the lights. But most of the time I'm thinking, oh, what should I wear? And I'm doing this in a very relaxed mind. And it's not that hard. But if I wait until it's 5 minutes to go, run in there, grab something, it won't be as easy. I'll be throwing things right and left. My closet will get messy again. So it's not easy. But so doing it before it's time is always a good thing. That's one of my favorite strategies for lots of things, just even making your morning go better. But even just minimizing what food you have in your house. I don't know. I'm not as good with that, but I do kind of eat the same thing over and over and over, but I like to have choices. Same with my clothing. My husband's all about if you have fewer clothes, then you don't have as much laundry to do. You don't have to make as many choices, but I like to have choices. I like to have options, even though I pretty much choose the same thing over and over. When they say, go through your closet, anything you haven't worn in a year or 6 months, I have things in there I probably haven't worn for years, but I won't get rid of them because I want to have them as an option. Maybe someday I will. But another thing you could do is just talk to people and get their advice. Like I said, in a restaurant, you can ask somebody else, have you eaten this before? What did you think? Of course, people have different tastes, so that's not always the best idea. But even deciding what to wear. I had a roommate that would always come in and she'd have one foot in each shoe. And she'd hold up one foot like behind so you'd only see the one foot with the dress, and she'd say, which one? And at the time we used to always think it was silly, but it was actually a really good idea because we could look and see. Now I do the opposite. I put on a pair of shoes and go, no, I put on another pair of shoes. But if you have somebody to ask, and I've even done that with my daughter. My youngest daughter lives at home, and she's a lot younger than I am. I was almost 35 when I had her, but I do question my outfits sometimes because I don't know fashion anymore. I teach yoga and I buy what's comfortable. So I'll say, is this even, remotely in style? Yeah, Mom, that's cute. Okay, good. Or should I wear these boots or should I wear that? And she'll help me. So asking for help to help you make the decision. And if somebody gives you an answer that you think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, don't second guess your gut if you feel good about it. I just bought a birthday present for a daughter who had a birthday yesterday. And I showed it to my husband. And I said, do you think that she'll like this? He goes, yeah, I think she'll really like it. And I think so too. And I asked my youngest daughter, and she kind of went, eh. And I thought, well, I feel good about it. And she loved it. She loved it. So I was glad. But I think my daughter just, she just didn't know. And sometimes people really have good insight, and sometimes they just help you weigh it out in your mind. And then also using other people, but asking other people, involving other people, delegating to other people when you can, not having that weight always be on yourself to make the decisions, or just taking yourself out of any steps that you possibly can. I've been doing that lately, and this isn't as much with decisions, but my kids will ask me, do you think Dad is able to do this? And I'll say, I probably text Dad or ask Dad, because they love to ask me first. I think it's easier for them to ask me, but yeah, take yourself out of anything that you can. And even if it's simple things, if it's causing more to your plate, and it's good for other people to be involved. If you have even younger kids, they love to be involved. So it might take a little more management on your part, but at some point, a little 4-year-old with a sponge, my grandson loves to be on the floor with the sponge and cleaning it. Gets it cleaner than it would be if he didn't do it, because I wouldn't be doing it. So every little bit helps. But what else? Even just making a decision, like I'll just go with my first choice, or I'll only allow myself this amount of time to decide. You can make little rules like that. I'm going to set a buzzer, and in 5 minutes, I just got to decide. And that's what people do in game shows. Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't, but they don't spend all day doing it. So anyway, I think that's probably it for now. I don't even know. It's funny because this new way of recording, it does tell me how long I've been recording. When I was just doing audio, I could see it the whole time, and I'd stop, if I wanted to, and get a drink of water or something. And now that I'm doing video too, if you're on YouTube, hello, thanks for watching. I waited till afternoon to record today, so it's a little darker in here. But, and I got highlights, if you can't tell. It was a brave thing for me, because I think I've done it once, which was a bad decision. I decided to do it myself, and it was not good. I don't have any experience with coloring like that. And so I went to a beauty school, and asked, because I heard that they did it a lot cheaper, because I just didn't have the money to pay for someone to do highlights. And they did fix it, but it took something like 3 hours. It was really long, because it was somebody new. Hopefully they're not frying my hair, but it was fine. But this is, I don't know, this is a new strategy I have, and we'll see how it goes. Trying to be brave. I made a decision, and I'm sticking with it, right? Even that with haircuts. Do you do that with haircuts? Are you somebody who's consistent with their decisions? Because that would be easier. If I decided every 6 weeks, every 2 months, I'm going to go in and get my hair cut, or I'm going to go in and do this, I wouldn't have to think about it. I could just schedule it and do it. But I've been more like, no, I don't need to cut my hair, because I just pull it back. And then 9 months later, a year later, 3 months later, whatever it is, it never has a pattern. I think I want to get my hair cut, but it has to be today, which is so dumb. But it's that impulse. It's like, I want to get it out of my system. I want to do it now. I don't want to think about it. But yeah, I don't know. You might have personal tips you can share with me, because clearly decision making, I don't know, it can be hard. At the same time, I have to give some kudos to women with ADHD, because if you have ADHD and you are creative-minded, you're smart, you are resourceful, often the ideas that we have and the hyper-focus ability, the curiosity, that's a great combination for being super resourceful. I don't know if anybody's ever said to you, you're so resourceful. Like, how do you find out all these things? How do you do this? You're able to make good decisions. You're able to gather good information because you like to research and you like to find it out. And a lot of people don't know where to look for that information. So that can be really wonderful and powerful too. So, yeah. I think that'll be it for today. I'm teaching another class in an hour. Yoga, yoga, yoga. If you're one, I actually have a different website for, I don't know, I'm redoing my website right now. I know I keep saying I'm going in, I'm not, but I have another website for yoga. And this is another decision. I decided to save money and transfer my website and transfer my yoga library. And I was learning how to do it, and I was doing a good job. But I'm finding that on YouTube, it's uploading them at bad quality. And these are HD videos. I took great care to record them in high def, and they're recording blurry. They're uploading blurry to YouTube. I still have all the files on the other thing, but the other subscription expires. If I don't renew it, it'll expire in 6 days. So that's why I thought, stop trying to figure this out. Just go record your podcast. You know, even just setting up my new website, I keep making it more complicated than I need to. I keep second guessing. I need to just say, these are going to be your colors, set it up, put it up so people can find things if they need to. And then later, if you want to change a color, you can. But right now I'm just like, but which pink? But this pink looks good with that. And I think I have about, 12 different pinks in my little Google Doc right now. But I hope you're doing well. I love knowing that you're out there. I know that it's not simple going through life with ADHD. It's also a great adventure, I think. If especially once you find out that your brain works in a unique way, and that there are a lot of people who experience that too. And it's really fun to compare, to strategize, because we're not all the same in our ADHD, but we do share so many traits and so many struggles. And it's good to bond together and just know that we can support each other and give each other ideas, because we've all got them. I'm not the only one with the ideas. But thank you so much for being here. I think this will be it for real. This is my for real goodbye. So thanks so much for being here. Bye.